right, Tuesday's video.
Good to be with you today. Remember on our last video that Jesus had told the scribes and Pharisees how serious it was to take something that they knew God had done and attribute it to Satan. This was an encounter that had been taking quite a while. You remember on the same day, he healed a man who had a withered hand, and he cast a demon out of a man, and who knows how many other miracles he had done up to this point that the scribes and Pharisees had observed. And so I think he really scared them when he said, there's a sin that can't be forgiven. You can get so far in your unbelief that you're unreachable. And you guys are pretty close. Or else he was telling them that they had already crossed the line. But regardless, I think he scared them. Because the next thing they said after he talked about, you are evil and that's why you speak evil words, and you wouldn't have said this blasphemy thing if you hadn't had an evil heart and your evil words came from that. I think they made the excuse and said, well, we just want to see a sign. In other words, we haven't seen enough. They said, teacher, we want to see a sign from you. And he answered and said to them, an evil and adulterous generation looks for a sign. In other words, sometimes people go on in their wickedness and they claim that they really need to see more before they'll actually believe. And Jesus said, it's not that you haven't seen enough, it's that you're using that as an excuse. When it's talking about belief in creation in Romans chapter 1, and it says that the invisible attributes of God are seen by the enormous and beautiful creation that he's done, he says in Romans 1:20, since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal power, his divine nature have been clearly seen, understood through what has been made, and then they are without excuse. And so unbelief just never does have enough proof. And unbelief, desire for signs and desire for more miracles, is simply rebellion. Remember, Jesus had already made two other deity claims. He claimed to be greater than the temple, and he claimed to be the Lord of the Sabbath. And in this particular passage, he says, like Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the whale, so the Son of Man must be 3 days and 3 nights in the depths of the earth. And he says, one greater than Jonah is here. Talking about himself. And then he says, the queen of the south will rise up in judgment against this generation, because she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and one greater than Solomon is here. Greater than the temple, greater than Jonah, greater than Solomon, Lord of the Sabbath. He's saying, you guys have seen enough to believe these things. And so I have a question for you. What does it take for you to believe? One disciple had Jesus tell him, I saw you when you were under the fig tree. And he said, You're the Lord of all. You're the Son of God. That's all it took. What's it take for you? How about the warning in the book of Hebrews? There were unbelievers in the middle of God's people. And it says, take care, brethren, that there not be among you an evil, unbelieving heart that falls away from the living God. Make sure that you act on what God has shown you. And God himself, the judge, says, you've seen enough. You've seen enough. God bless you. I'm done.